I'll be adding the speakers one by one. The order might change, but it'll happen in a flow. So just be there. Just a second. Right. So here we have speaker for today, who's Janisha, and I'm just waiting for her to join up. And we'll have a couple of new speakers too. Hi, Janisha.
Hi.
Yeah, audible. You're visible. Great.
Okay, so my name is Janisha Jain and I am an intern now. And so I'm directly going to jump to my journey of research. So for the first time when I came across the research, an ICMR project was in my second year when someone told me that you can do a project because you have time. And I agreed to that. And then research for me was equal to PSM department because that is what I had heard. So I directly jumped to the department to the only one ma'am I knew. So I went to Neelam ma'am and she gave me a topic and she told me how do we write a synopsis, and I wrote the synopsis, followed instructions, and that's it. My project didn't get selected. So now in that process, in my talk, I'm just going to tell you 3 things that you're not supposed to do because everybody's going to tell you things that you're supposed to do. So my first thing was I got a topic without any background work done from my side. Ma'am gave me a topic which was good according to ma'am, but I had not read anything about it. I just took the topic and she told me you have to write a synopsis and I wrote it according to whatever I had been told. So the point one thing is do not blindly take up anything that you just come across because somebody told you, whoever that somebody is. So read. You're supposed to find out you're supposed to find out similar articles, where was the research done, when was it done, and if it has been done in your setting. This is very important because it doesn't hold value otherwise. So that was the first mistake I did because later on when I didn't get selected, I did a bit of my research then and I realized that the same topic had been done in Maharashtra just a year back. So getting selected was obviously not going to be possible, but I had not checked it back when I submitted my project. So that was mistake 1. Do not do that. So then when minor came, I was like, fine, now I'm going to give my ICMR project. And this time I knew I have to read and I'm not going to take up any random thing. So the thing in my mind was that I'm going to select my subject first and not just go to PSM because that's research for me. So that's what I understood till minor. So I had 2 subjects in mind. So there is one thing that when you select subjects, there are 3 things you should keep in mind. Either you're extremely passionate about it, either it's a very high yielding subject. Like for me, I consider micro an extremely high yielding subject. None of the projects I know have got rejected from micro department. And
Absolutely.
And third one for me, which I selected the topic was, I did think that skin is one of my PG options. So I wanted to discover and explore the department, the subject more and get exposure. So I kept skin as an option for me. So I went to micro department and I met a guide and she gave me a topic. And this time I did read about the topic and I saw that yes, it had not done in our setting, but it was a very common topic. Like I'm sure it was even though it was micro, but I felt it was a very, very common topic. So I didn't go back to that ma'am and I went to skin. So mistake number 2, do not just jump to a guide. So yes, you have to read, but what you have to do is you have to first select your subject. It can be preclinical, paraclinical. If like me, you cannot come to 1, select 2. Go to the journal section in the library and just see the latest journals and short down like maybe 8 to 10 topics you feel can be done by you. We'll discuss the feasibility later, but then whatever you feel can be done should be on a list, and then you approach a guide who you think is going to be comfortable and you can negotiate with her on these topics. Like sometimes the guides are extremely, they're stern. If they have a topic and they want to pursue that topic. So you help them. So that is one thing that I realized, that do not jump to a guide. Get a list of things you would like to do. Obviously, if a guide gives a better option, you'll definitely go for it. But at least, you should have something in your mind, because else what happens is you're going to hold grudges again. I mean, you're going to get every time I would see that ma'am, I had to run away in the entire college because I obviously didn't want to face her because we didn't end up working together. So don't jump to a guide. Do your basic work, go to the library and just see topics you feel are feasible. So now what I mean by feasible is, so when you sit down with your guide, she'll tell you that so and so topic. So what you have to check for feasibility is, don't select a topic because it sounds very cool. Because this happened to me in my first attempt in second year. I had a topic in which we were discussing, we were going to compare body images of adolescent girls. So we were going to take up one school in urban side of Pune and one in the rural side. So now I found this very fascinating, traveling to the urban, the rural section, going to schools, interacting. So for me, I was like, yeah, this sounds very cool. I'm going to go to Shirur and this is going to be like this fun thing to do. So, but obviously it's not very feasible if you think about it logically, because when my ma'am, she got transferred. So even after my project didn't get selected, pursuing it was very difficult because going to Shirur up and down is not very feasible in your day-to-day college life. So feasibility will mean you should have your materials. You should see, it's not like you're going to get only 10,000. So you cannot just go on taking, buying kits on your own, or so it has to be in a feasible environment. The materials and the equipment you need. To the sample size, don't aim too high. 2 months is very less time, and eventually you'll end up working for 6 months, making the paper and everything else. So don't over aim. I'm going to take 1,000 patients and 1,500 patients. No. So keep it very, very realistic, and not just, so don't even under aim that I'm only going to do 50 patients. So that has to be in mind, feasibility. Number 2 is sample size is very important. The equipment is important, and how and who's going to help you out. Remember, you're going to be the only one doing this. So do not again think over aim and say, okay, I'm going to do this and this. So what you're supposed to do is start with a broader aspect, maybe with a subject, then narrow down to one topic, one criteria. After which when you read other articles, you will realize that there's a limitation section in every article. You should read the limitations, because that is where you get your question. That they missed out on something, and those blanks or those loops are going to add on to your research and going to make it more valuable. So this is what I learned from my journey, and this is exactly how I would like to put it. Don't do 3 things. First is, do not just take a topic, do not just take a guide, and check feasibility. That's it.
Absolutely. Right. Thank you, Janisha. A couple of questions. So the first question, people were asking that being in second year, like most of these people over here are in first year and second year. So how do you select a topic which is a clinical topic, like something from psychiatry or something from peds?
Yeah. So in second year, so in second year, if you want to go for clinical topics, it doesn't really matter if you're in second year or minor, because your clinical knowledge is still zero. You do not, at least till I was in minor, we did not actually go and taking history is one thing, but we are not exposed to a lot of patients to say that, okay, in minor, I will be well versed with the clinical topics. So probably what you should be doing is, if you feel like, for me, skin was extremely new, I had zero idea, but I just thought that I might end up in skin, so I just want to know what skin is like. So you just approach your guide, and there is absolutely no problem, because when even if you want to do gynecology, OBGY, you select OBGY and you just see the journals, see the titles, and then if there's anything you feel, even one odd word in the title, like when I was selecting my topic for skin, I saw acne somewhere, and I'm like, cool, acne works. So I ticked up on acne. So like that, I saw dermatological lesions in ICU. So I was like, fine, lesions in ICU. Makes sense to me. So that is how I selected my topics. I just read the title and I shortlisted things which I sounded familiar. After which, when you approach your guide, she'll give you an absolute brief on what the topic is. How will you examine, if you are supposed to examine patients, or if you're supposed to take a history or fill up pro formas. So it goes in a flow. just make a list of things you know. I mean, just some familiar words is also enough when you start.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much. It'll be great. Anything else you want to add up?
If there's any more questions, you all can, I think, DM it to the group Jigyasa, and we'll definitely answer. And if there's any help required, we're here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anisha. I'll add the next speaker right now.
Bye.
Bye bye. Right. So I guess most of the people have joined. There are about more than 100 people who are here right now. So I'll just make an intro. Hi, Yash. Just give
Hi.
me 1 minute. I'll
Yeah.
complete the intro. Okay. Right. So thank you, people, for joining, and thank you for such a great response initially. We are really sorry for the start. Today we have a couple of speakers here, right from interns to people from our batch. And most of these people have their ICMR project selected. And the most frequent question by the students from first year and the second year is that how do you go about selecting a research topic? Now, just finding out your curiosity about a topic or your interest in any subject and going and finding a teacher over there thereby results in many problems like feasibility, and sometimes the sample size is not available. So there are a couple of criterias like the finer criteria and the pico criteria. Along with that, we have some jugaad which is always there in between. And for there, we have these speakers which are here. And we just finished with Dr. Jinisha, who's an intern. And now we have Dr. Yash Jain coming up, and he'll guide us with his research journey. So let's start with this.
Yeah. So hi everyone. So I would like basically try to talk about my journey. There is no technical part to it because I think Jinisha has covered quite some technical part like the feasibility, sample size, and the coming speakers as well are going to talk about the criteria and the other things. I'll just go through my journey, like how it was, and maybe you guys can learn something from it. And yes, you'll definitely learn something from it. So yeah, in the second year, we just got to know about the ICMR project, and I similarly like Jinisha, I just rushed into it. I just found a guide, and she gave me a topic, and I signed up for it. And the topic was about blood donation, like why people want to donate, like voluntarily, why are people donating? What is the reason behind it? So yeah, I found the topic at that point of time quite good enough, and but the main problem after taking the topic was like just we made our own questionnaire, like why are people taking up the why are people donating blood. So we just made our own questionnaire, and we just went ahead with it. And I think that was the major point where the topic didn't get selected in second year, because you just can't go ahead and make your own questionnaire and just like go ahead with the project. There are like standard questionnaires which people make, which is authorized by some institutions as well, and then you can use those questionnaires by giving them the reference. And I think that might be the reason it did not get selected. Also, similar studies had been done in India, like many studies had been done, similar studies had been done in India, so that was also a reason. Also, there was not much involvement of a student in it. Like it was just a questionnaire which I had prepared myself with the help of my guide, and we just went ahead with it, and people had to fill it. So and there were no like many statistics also involved. So yeah, so these might be the reasons the project did not get selected. Also, like there is no selection criteria given by ICMR, so I'm just assuming these might be the reason. But yes, in third minor, I was very aware of what I wanted to do, and which subject I wanted to do, and what kind of project I wanted to do, which might have an impact on the society as well. Also, like there is some work involved in it. I thought that I should take up microbiology. Like my second year was over, so I was very well versed with microbiology, and I had also found out like the selection rate of this subject was high. Like there are no like standard statistics, but in our college, many people who had taken up microbiology got their project selected. So that was one reason. Also, I did not like pharmac. I did not like patho. FMT, I wasn't sure about, but I liked microbiology, so I just went ahead with it. Then I found my guide. Ma'am gave me two options. She was fine with any option, when any topic to be done, but she gave me two options. So one was about the the bacteria or the organisms found on the mobiles, so in the OT, in the hospital settings. And the second option was about the testing of syphilis. So as you might know, syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and you just like whoever is done with their second year, you have those tests, VDRL and TPHA. VDRL is non-specific, TPHA is specific. So yeah, so there was an algorithm related to it. Like you just don't go about and do one test. Nowadays, you like people are doing a battery of tests, like two tests, minimum two tests. So that was the option given to me. So I just went home, I read about both the topics, and I chose syphilis. The mobile idea was had been done in India. There were many researches done about it, so I just went with syphilis. First of all, there wasn't even a single study which had been done in India related to this algorithm. Also, these tests were daily being done in our laboratories. Just that we had to, make an algorithm out of it. Like you just first do VDRL, then whoever is positive with VDRL, then you do TPHA on it. So it was some work involved. There was statistics involved, and there was the major criteria which I found was I had to go in the laboratory and work, and I had to do the testing as well. Sometimes I had thought that I'll have to do the sample collection as well from the patients, but that wasn't needed eventually. So then there was one hurdle because in this topic was that syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and the cure rate by giving penicillin is very high. Like there is no resistance, so like not many cases are being detected only. The only option to do a big study of like 100 200 patients was to combine it with another sexually transmitted disease, that was HIV. So by including HIV in HIV patients, the rate of syphilis is very high. So we had to do this. Like it isn't a jugaad, but it is like you play smart. Like you can increase your sample size as well, and it is more relevant in HIV patients because if you see the guidelines, a VDRL test is like mandatory in all HIV patients to look for syphilis, because it actually is a comorbid condition along with HIV. So VDRL was being done in our college. So now I think I'm going in a lot of technical part. I'll just tell you that the main advantage of this topic was going into the laboratory and working. Also, I think that the major thing that I learned from this topic was that I did not know that I have a fear of against HIV. Like being a medical student, I did not know about it. Like I used to be like sweating before going into the lab. I was sweating every day, and I had to go and face the challenge, and it was like a huge thing at that point of time. In third minor, you actually don't see many HIV patients. You don't know much. There was a fear, and I think in my internship, I'm like because I did that topic, I faced the challenge every day. I had to go to the lab, I had to do the test, and and I was sweating every day. I had my nervous breakdowns every day. I wanted to leave the topic every day. Like I was going to quit. I did not care that the project had got selected. I just wanted to quit every day. But my friends, especially Janisha, she motivated me, and I got the topic done somehow, like struggling. The topic was indeed very nice. The layout was very nice. The algorithms were very good, but there was a fear, and I wanted to run away from it. But yes, I fought, and I just bit by bit, like 5 samples a day, 8 samples a day. Every day I used to struggle, but in the end I completed the topic. But towards the end, the fear had gone. Now, if you see during the internship, like I don't care if the patient is HIV positive, negative, because I know how I need to collect the blood. I know that the chances of pricking myself is less, and also the COVID-19 pandemic is going on, and I am sure if it hadn't been this project, I would have been having my nervous breakdowns every day right now also against COVID, because I work in the isolation ward, and I have to wear the PPE kit every day, and it is quite stressful. And obviously it is similar to like HIV, like for me, for my mind. So I was just I'm like just prepared because of this research that I did. So I think like it is a very big thing, like it is a very big thing for me that I did it, and it's helping me a lot during my internship. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Yash. That was really motivating, actually. And there are a couple of doubts, but then
Okay.
they are not related that much. So there's this one doubt that how do you
Okay.
select a topic during this lockdown time? Because the pandemic is going on, and then after that, there are no guides
Yeah.
available. So,
Hmm. Mm, Actually, it is a tricky question. The first thing that anyone would do is like make a questionnaire at home or take some questionnaire related to COVID-19 itself. But
absolutely.
already there are lot of projects being done related to COVID-19, and I think this it will saturate, and like the relevance of doing a project related to it will go down because a lot of people are doing it. So
Hmm.
I think at this point of time, any topic having uh, asking about awareness, not related to
Right.
COVID
Hmm.
19, but something else, any Google form which you can prepare. See, manual work is not possible. You can't go to the medical students can't go to the hospital, but yes, anything related to Google forms, and that can help, but you'll have to choose the topic wisely. Like you just can't
Right.
decide one day and choose the topic.
Choose the topic. We can do one thing. We can ask people from the departments who are not that busy, the juniors, and we can send their email ID on the group, and we can send a list of the topics that are available in every subject. So the people who want to start, they can mail the teachers at least and fix their guides. We can do that. And for the other people who have their topic ongoing right now, and they cannot, continue with their project because of the pandemic, you can do one thing, that you can have the list of the references on your hand. And after that, you can go through the references and make your introduction part and the methodology part clear. The collection of the data, the discussion, and the results can be done later on once that is over. But for the initial part of it, you can start writing the report. You can do that, and try to search and keep on having PubMed searches, so that you get used to PubMed, and that will help you out. The other questions are mostly answered. One question is that how to choose a topic that truly aligns with your interests, and not just for the sake
Yeah.
of choosing it.
Yeah, so see, I think the subject which you like, first, for me, it is the subject that you need to like. First, choose a subject, then you can approach a guide, and you can approach multiple people from a single department. see, the approach can be different for everyone. I'm just telling about myself. So you can approach multiple people from a department. You can ask for topics. Then also you can ask that like where to look. Like you just can't look inside your textbook. Like the textbook is like this thick. So you can ask about a particular section, and if you're interested in that particular section, then in each and every page you can find like 10 topics. It is possible. You just need to brainstorm. Many of the times you, while reading itself, like while reading for a university exams also, you'll think that why there is not much research related to this thing. Like it's just mentioned that there might be a correlation of this thing to that thing, but like there's no research mentioned there. So you can look around in your PubMed that is there any research related to this thing that you're reading, and if you're interested, then you can find your own, like make your own topic. There's no need to even ask the guides about it. Like obviously you can take their suggestions, but each and every page of your textbook has like 10 topics waiting for you.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you, Yash. Before we finish,
Okay.
just two important things or three important things which these people should remember. Last thing.
Um, Firstly is like even if you're not doing USMLE or any, even if you don't plan to go abroad, you can easily do a research topic in your second year, first year, second year, as well as third minor. Final year can be difficult, but it is doable. I have seen people do it, but you should like definitely go for one topic. Like even that one topic now, you will be like perfect. Even if in the NEET or USMLE any question comes now, I can answer related to syphilis. So even if you're not
Absolutely.
going abroad, it's going to help you in your curriculum, as well as extracurriculum activities, as well as in your internship. And your mind gets refined if you're doing some research topic and you're using statistics. Biostats is not that easy, but if you're doing a research topic, your mind will understand what biostatistics is.
Absolutely right.
That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Yash. Thank you so much.
Okay,
I'll
cool.
just
Thanks.
now add other people. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bye
bye.
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 Right. So I'm waiting for Avnika to join. Hi,
Hi.
Avni.
Hi, am I audible?
Yeah, very much.
Hi.
So Avni has completed her ICMR project and it's selected, and she is a final year student currently. She performed her research in minor, and now she'll take over. Thank you, Avni.
Yeah. Hi. So I've had a journey very similar to Dr. Janisha and Dr. Yash about having a topic which, didn't work out in second year, and then finally doing something which worked out in third year. But I wouldn't be focusing on that right now. So my topic for my STS ICMR research was knowledge, awareness, and prevention of cervical cancer among urban and rural women, which was essentially a hospital-based observational cross-sectional study. So when I had to decide a topic, I first chose the branch which I was interested in, which was obs-gynae. Then after choosing an appropriate guide, which should be an entirely different topic of discussion, we decided to work on cervical cancer. So I'd like to go about telling you guys on how I chose this topic according to the finer criteria on how to generate a research question, which goes as feasibility, interesting, novel, ethical, and relevant. So this criteria is what essentially helps you to go from a knowledge gap to an actual research question. So first was feasibility, which can either be a sample, temporal, or participation feasibility. So Janisha has already explained this quite well. I'll just add a few points to it. So since mine was a simple survey-based research, obtaining an adequate sample size was not going to be a problem. But with this overconfidence, I ended up taking a sample size that became very difficult to cover. So my suggestion will be, please do not be overconfident and be smart when you're choosing your sample size. Secondly, are 2 months going to be enough or not? Now, this is specific to ICMR. If you're doing a non-ICMR research, you can decide the time frame for yourself. But let's say, you choose a topic which has to deal with ovarian cancer patients. Are you going to find those many patients in a 2-month period? You're probably not. And then you're just going to panic. Or let's say your study needs you to follow up on a set of patients after 1 week or 2 weeks. Are you going to be able to do that? So these kind of things need to be considered when you're choosing your topic. Another very important consideration is, do you have the technical expertise to do the project by yourself? Now, this is very crucial because if you're going to need to rely on someone else to do a major chunk of your data collection, trust me, it's not going to happen. Second is interest.
Right.
Are you interested in doing this topic, or are you doing it just because your guide wants to do it? This is a very important distinction. Your research topic should be something that excites you, you find it interesting. For example, in my case, I was curious to know whether there was a difference in the knowledge in the community regarding cervical cancer, like between urban and rural women, which is why I was a bit more inclined towards this topic. Third is novelty. So how is your topic different from all the other topics out there? So I'm sure what some of you all must be thinking is, how is it that there has been no other study done to assess the knowledge of the public on cervical cancer? So to answer this question, of course there have been, and lots of them. So what sets my topic aside from the rest was the fact that there were very few studies, especially in Maharashtra, which were comparing the level of knowledge amongst urban, semi-urban and rural women. So this is how I went from an already established scientific knowledge to a probable research question. So your topic doesn't necessarily have to be like super cutting edge, or as Janisha said, cool or anything like that. It can simply be a research question that has been partly answered before, but not with the proposed, with this proposed environment or this patient population of framework. So a good way to go about doing this will be, as mentioned before, examining the discussions and the implication sections of the published articles, where they usually write about these kind of limitations, where you can, get ideas for future research. Fourth was ethical. Now, that's again, and should be an entirely different topic of discussion. But for me, again, the ethics committee wasn't a big problem because mine was like a simple observational study. But any study that involves actual patient interaction or, sample collection, any intervention, you all will have to draft your proposal accordingly. Last but not the least is your research question relevant in today's world? Is it going to improve or change any protocols? I understand, being UG students, we don't get to do any kind of interventional studies, of course. But your research should be able to make some meaningful contribution in the current body of knowledge. It shouldn't be an exact repetition, repetition of something that has been done in the same patient population before. It's not going to get selected. It has to be different. It has to be innovative. Yep, that's it. I'm done.
Oh, right. Thank you so much, Avni. Thank you for touching on the finer criteria. And I'll just wait for questions if there are any.
Yes.
People are very impressed with your journey, it seems.
Thank you.
There is this one question, a first year student probably. Is research recommended for first year student?
Well, you can do it in any year. I mean, I have friends, like classmates, who have done research in first year, but it would probably be better that you start off in second year, in the sense that at least you know what kind of subjects are there, what biostats actually means, and you at least are exposed to the hospital environment, because in first year you don't have clinics, so you don't even know how the hospital works. So I mean, I would suggest second year, but it's entirely up to you. Like, people do research topics in anat and biochem as well, so depends on your interests.
People can start it in anatomy probably, because anatomy has a good selection rates. And there are a couple of our batchmates like Priyash who has done a research. So he,
Yes.
for example, the people who are watching, he had completed a research on finding out the size of the human skull and thereby performing a couple of surgeries. Even one of my batchmates, Rishi, he performed a research in anatomy which was related to radiology. So it's not necessary that you can't do a project in first year. You can do it in first year, but you can collaborate it with some other department, which is a clinical department. So that makes a project relevant, interesting, and thereby your guide will be a first year, so you won't have a problem, right? So I guess your doubt is solved. And Avni, thank you.
Okay. See ya.
Right. Yeah, bye. I'll just add the next speaker. Right. So I guess Rishi is here, and
Hi, Neil.
hi. And Rishi has completed 2 researches, and he has a very good way of approaching 2 researches. So let's think about his journey. Before he starts, I would request you people to keep a pen and paper handy. I should have told that earlier, but it just slipped my mind. So that you can, jot down the points about the finer criteria and even the other criteria which are coming up and the important points, because finally the paper and the work is going to stay with you. Okay. Yeah, Rishi.
Hi, yeah. So first of all, I would like to start by since we are undergraduate students, we don't have any clinical experience, no PSM experience as such. So can we actually do groundbreaking research or something that is actually affecting our surroundings? So the answer to that is actually you can, and Neil is an example of that, and many other people also. So like, for example, if you're doing a project in microbiology, that can be used and applied in your antibiotic protocol, which is being used in your college. And so that is how you can actually see the implementation of your hard work. So that is one thing, one misconception. And another thing is that one should always avoid some a type of project which is called as Me Too projects. So I did the same, almost did the same mistake in first year. A Me Too project is basically when you sort of use the same methodology as another researcher, which has for a research which has done in some place, not in India. Maybe it has been done in some other setting, and then you try to do the same thing in your setting. So actually, it is very easy to do, and a lot of people do that, but the impact of that is not very big. So that is one thing that you should avoid. So I'll directly start with my experience. As Neil said, I have done 2 research projects. So the reason behind doing 2 actually is that when I came into first year, I had this very ambitious plan that first year, second year, third year I can do research. Fourth year is very hectic. So I'll have to study. So every year I'll do 1 research project. But obviously I underestimated the amount of time and effort that research was going to take, which I realized later, of course. So yeah, I did what I did exactly is that I didn't have anything in mind as to where I want to specialize or no specific interest as such. I considered research as a separate entity and I wanted to pursue research basically. So in first year, since we were studying anatomy, biochemistry and those subjects, I thought that maybe I could start with anatomy in first year, and in second year I'll do whatever subject I fancy in second year. So considering that, I started doing the ANAT project, and my ma'am gave me a topic, and as Jinisha and Yash also said, I made the same mistake that everyone makes in first year, and I didn't put as much effort into it as I should have, into especially the literature part, and so that project didn't get selected. But I did actually continue that. So I'll be touching that point later actually. When the place where I learned the most about my research project would be when I was presenting it this year in final year. So in third minor, actually, I started like thinking about trying to present my projects, and that's when I realized all the flaws and everything. So in final year, like this in Jan and Feb, I modified my first year project again, and I made it better, and I presented in places, and that actually won. So I was so that was good. What I did differently actually is that anatomy, it is very important, as Jinisha said, that the impact of it is very important. So anatomy as itself is now outdated. म्हणजे cadaveric studies, for example, are not very in fashion right now because we have CT scans and things like that. So in final year, I decided to collaborate it with radiology, and that worked because that is something different and nobody has done that before. So how did I choose the specific topic? So actually, as I said, the subject I decided based on what I said before, but I had an interest in antimicrobial research, antimicrobial resistance and all, and they're very unique strains which are upcoming, and they are resistant to almost everything. So I found that very fascinating personally. So then what I did is that I went to our college library and I saw the articles. As I think Janisha ma'am was saying, seeing the heading, that is what I did as well. So I saw all the journals that helped me a bit. And mainly I talked to my guide, I talked to clinicians, I talked to my friends who were also doing similar things. So that also gave me a good input. One more source is attending seminars and conferences. That is also a very useful thing. And then the next step is to do a thorough literature search, which involves scouring the entire PubMed as well as you can to find out what has been done in that topic up till now and what you can do. So what you should look at in those research articles is the limitations, the conclusions, and if you are considering doing a project, then you should also look at the methodology. If you look at these things, these three things, then that is what you should mainly take from those research articles, and you can save them in your PubMed account and then use them as references later. So the importance of making a good research question is basically that is going to decide your entire protocol, your primary objectives, maybe your secondary objectives. So it is important that you put a lot of thought into the research question part of it. So few mistakes which I made, and I think that people should ensure in first year also before starting, is that you should ensure that your biostats are in place, because a lot of issue what happens is that I don't know, first year, second years might not be aware of the terms yet, but there is something called as powering your study. So a lot of my friends face this problem, is that when you do everything, you decide that I'll do this methodology, these are my objectives, you take it to the statistician and you find out that to power your study, that is make the study be sort of valid, you need to have a sample size that is like something around 300, 500, which is usually not possible for undergraduate students. You can't, it's not feasible, right? So that is something which is very important you should think of before. And ask the statistician, involve the statistician while you are making the research question. And as I said, the last thing I would like to say is that, yeah, Samira is saying it is applicable on the population also, what population you're using. Research, you cannot do it the best you can the first time you do it. So I learned most of it, as I said, from presenting it, and in final year when I had a lot of background to it. And the good thing about that is finally we haven't, none of us has, very few of us have published them. So you still have a lot you can work on it and improve on it till the last moment. And if you keep doing that and reanalyze yourself, reanalyze the project, then that will really help you and make a huge refined project. So that's it from me. Thanks.
Oh, that was great, Rishi. Thank you. So as Yash said that being motivated is difficult. So you did 2 projects, and what was that one thing that always help you push it out, which made you make that discipline to completing the project?
Yeah, my second year project actually involved taking rectal swabs of patients, and in theory that sounded like okay, like I could do that. It sounds like just any other specimen, but going to the ICU and my sample size was pretty big. The ICU was very scary. Like first 1 month when I was doing the project, it's very scary. And so I was always thinking that should I stop it? Is it really worth it? But then the thing that pushed me is that, well, research is never going to leave you. Research is always going to be lots of hard work. And even when you're doing your PG thesis, actually I talked to my PG friends, they were doing their thesis and they were telling me how bad, how hard it was for them. And listening to them, I was like, okay, maybe what I'm doing is actually easier. And it doesn't even matter that much because theirs is a final thesis. Mine is just a project which I'm doing in my undergraduate level. So that sort of motivated me, and yeah, well, you have to put in that hard work, I guess, eventually.
Right. So that's great that you need to have a colleague which always, motivating each other for pursuing the research. And yeah, right. That's great. So thank you, Rishi. And
Thank you.
uh, I'll just look up if any questions are there. Okay, then I'll add the next speaker. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right. So now we have Samira coming up, who is a final year student, and I'm just waiting for her to join. There she is.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Neil. How are you?
Great. So tell us about your journey.
Yes. So, in fact, my journey was very similar to a lot of people who have spoken already. Dr. Janisha, Avnika, what she said was very true. So, I think what I would like to touch up on, I think, is for a lot of us, research, especially in first year, second year, begins because we want to improve our CV. Like that is something that we want to do. So if that is your primary objective, then make sure when you're choosing your subject, you choose a field that you are interested in. Your CV would look much, or it counts for more if you have done a project in the area that you eventually apply for. Now, if you are planning to do this outside the country, let's say you want to go to the US, you want to go to the UK, then research is extremely important. So in those places, the US, as far as I have heard, there is no point system as such. But in the UK, there is a point system. So in fact, you do get higher points for doing a research study in the specialty that you want to apply to. Now, for younger students like those in first year and second year, knowing what specialty they want to get into is obviously very difficult. Like I thought I wanted to do something in first year and it changed in third year, and it's difficult. So in those sort of conditions, I would say choose something that interests you at that point in time. Because research is the best way. I think one of our speakers already said this, but research is the best way you can really find out about that subject or that specialty. Like you think reading your textbook is going to tell you what that specialty is about. It's not true. Research is the best way to do it. So yeah, that is definitely what I would say. Yeah, and basically, I have not had, unfortunately, any of my ICMR projects selected as yet. And I applied for one in second year and applied for one in third year, and it didn't go through. But I didn't let that stop me. So if there's anyone out there who is sort of a bit worried about whether ICMR will go through or not, so I'm in my final year now, and I'd just like to share how I was sort of determined that I don't care, my ICMR has to get selected. I'm not going to stop. Final year is the last year you can do that. Right? You can't apply for one during internship. So this is the last year I could have. So what I did was during my PL, with the experience that I gained in my second year and my third minor, in my PL of third minor, I actually started looking up. I realized I was interested in ophthalmology. So then I said, okay, I want to find out about that. And that is when I formed the whole idea of my project, and the proposal was ready in October, I think, like a month before my university exam. So I had that ready, and I just had to submit it in Jan and then start my project in Jan. So yeah, so don't let what year you are in determine whether you can do the research or not, really. It doesn't matter. Just always continue. Yeah.
Right. Okay, thank you, Samira, so much. And
You're welcome.
talking about US Emily, right, there is a point system in UK, but there is a point system in Emily too. So,
Sorry, okay.
yeah, so the people who are watching and who are trying to, pursue Emily in future, you should definitely continue with one research. Rohit is going to do Emily, so you can get in contact with him. Secondly, talking about ICMR, thank you for putting up that point, Samira, because I've seen a lot of people not just from first year, second year, but even from my batch, whose ICMR project is not selected, and they had to drop out. But now here we have such a big example like you, who has continued the project, and not just continuing it, but even won a couple of them. And finally, it doesn't matter, right? Which year do you continue your ICMR
Yeah.
project or pursue it, right? So thank you so
Yes.
much. And I guess, wait.
I think
So how
Anjali
does
has a
research?
question. Yes.
Yeah. So how
Right.
does
So,
research help you? Yeah, sorry,
okay,
continue.
sorry. Yeah. So I think I said this earlier. It allows you to understand your topic that you are studying, and the specialty that you are performing your research in. That's number one. Number two, performing research will sort of tell you or give you a skill that is very important in today's world or whatever as a doctor. Research is not just something that you do as a UG student or a PG student. You submit your thesis or you get points on your CV, and you need this experience for your life, because you will be you are known as a better doctor if you have more publications or that have really helped the medical community. So gaining this kind of experience, you are allowed to make as many mistakes as you want when you are a UG student, and you have this chance now to really experiment. But when you become a doctor, when you're doing your PG thesis, then you can't experiment. If you made mistakes, then it becomes a bit difficult, right? So UG is the best time to really understand about research, biostats, what you need to do, and just basically, yeah, that's a very big advantage that you have. I hope I answered your question, Anjali.
There's one more, that
Yes.
how do you manage your academics and research simultaneously?
Right. I'm glad that question came to me. If you are planning to do or perform a research, let's say you know what topic you want to do, make sure you choose a topic that does not require something like collecting clinical specimens, doing follow-ups, and things like that require a lot more effort. If you do something that is a cross-sectional observational study, for example, where you take a questionnaire, either it's a structured questionnaire that's been pre-validated or something that you have made yourself, but it has been assessed for content validity. That is when you can then do that kind of project in your own time. If, let's say, for example, you want to complete it during the PL, and you've taken the ethics committee approval and everything, you do it during the PL, and that's when you have the time to do it, because those kind of projects really depend on you when you want to do it. But if you choose something that's more clinical, it gets a bit difficult. That's number one. Number two is, I'm sorry, no one's going to like this answer, but it's time management. Like, it's really important to then realize that when you want to do research and you want to study as well at the same time, and you want to excel at both, you need to get into the habit of planning. You need to get into the habit of deciding what is my deadline? When do I want to complete what? What do I have left when I want to study, or et cetera, et cetera. So it's not impossible. Trust me, it's not. And it seems a bit daunting. Research offers so much work, but it's not impossible if you plan well. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Right. Thank you, Samira.
You're
Yes, it was
welcome.
great
Thank you so
hearing
much.
you.
This was fun. Yes, thank you.
I'll add you
Okay,
next
bye.
speaker.
Yes.
Bye. Right. So waiting for Kasturi to join. So amongst our batch or amongst the people I know, Kasturi is the one who's very disciplined and yes, the youngest always to perform the research. And hi, Kasturi.
Hi Neil, I hope I'm audible.
Very
Yeah,
much.
I'm audible. Okay. So, as all of my seniors have already spoken about their experiences and the most important points that you need to keep in mind while pursuing the research, there's, I guess, very little left for me to talk about. So, I'd be mostly talking about the finer criteria which you could apply while doing a research project. So, the finer criteria stands for, oh, I'm sorry, the PICOT criteria. So, So the PICOT criteria stands for population, then intervention, then comparator, O stands for outcome, and T stands for time frame. So while explaining these points, I'd like to tell you about my research journey as well. So starting with the population. Okay, before that, I'd like to tell you what my research topic was. So my research topic was using a pulse oximeter as a screening tool to detect hypoxemia and the reasons for hypoxemia, which could be either cardiac causes, such as cardiac anomalies, which are congenital in nature, or else non-cardiac causes, which could include any pulmonary cause, or else sepsis or meconium aspiration, etc. So that was about my topic. Okay, so proceeding ahead with population. So when you're framing a research question, as an investigator, you need to consider what population are you going to intervene onto. So again, the population is defined under certain demographic data, such as age, or else gender, risk profile of the patient, etc. So in my study, I had the population very clear in my mind right from the start, that is the newborn babies. And what I had limited it up to, like what inclusion criteria I had added onto it were that the age was specific. That is, only the babies who were greater than 35 weeks of gestation were included in my studies. Also, those newborn babies who had already any critical condition or else were sick and required an NICU admission were completely excluded from my study. So these are the points that you need to keep in mind right from framing a research question. So that was about it, population. Coming to intervention. So the intervention of interest could be anything, like you could have a therapeutical approach, or else a diagnostic test you could use on a subject to evaluate your results, or any exposure. So these are the interventions that you could be using. In my case, I had this very clear in my mind, like thanks to my guide. She explained it to me, the topic actually, she explained it very simply, so it was easy for me to understand. So my intervention was basically using a pulse oximeter tool, putting a probe on 1 foot and 1 hand of the baby, and documenting the oxygen saturations. So once the saturations were documented, I had to assess that whether it was low or it was normal. In case the oxygen was low, that is below 90%, then the baby was quickly referred to the NICU for detailed evaluation. So that was about my intervention. So while writing down your research question, you need to understand that this is the protocol that you will be following in future. And about that, like, I know it might sound like it isn't possible or something like that, but still you need to do some basic study of your own and find out what kind of protocol you'll be using or what kind of population you are dealing with. So these are the few points. Third is comparator. So you always need to compare your intervention with a gold standard. So in my case, the gold standard was, okay, there's again some lag, I guess.
No, it's correct. You can continue.
Okay,
Kasuri, am I
okay.
audible?
So yeah, you are audible, but it's like it's buffering in between. So I thought that you might have paused
Okay,
the video or something
so
like
we
that.
can just wait for 15 seconds and then we can continue. Right. Let other people
Okay,
join
great.
up. I guess we can continue. Yeah, the lag's gone.
Okay, so I was talking about comparing with the gold standard. So I used to collect the results that I had from the pulse oximeter, that is the oxygen saturations. And in case they were low, then I used to refer the baby to the NICU. And again over there, they used to use the gold standard, that is an echocardiogram. So they used to again do an echocardiography and assess the results, and then I used to compare, and that's how I got to know what is the diagnostic accuracy of this pulse oximeter, or is the sensitivity and specificity of using pulse oximeter as a screening tool. So this is how you compare your intervention with a gold standard, which is important for you to know right from the beginning. Then another point is time frame.
Right.
Outcome. So about the outcome, the results that you are going to examine and assess, you should be clear about them right from the start. Like I had this clear idea that I was going to evaluate the diagnostic accuracy, the feasibility, the cost effectiveness, and the utility of pulse oximeter as a screening tool. So as I had all these points clear in my mind, I could proceed ahead very smoothly. And the only problem I had in my research journey was with the sample size. My research guide, she said that, Kasturi, will you be able to manage a sample size of 1,000? And I, at that time, had no idea. I thought that 1,000 is like so easy. It could be like done within 1 month or 2 months. But actually, it took me a lot of time. So there comes the last point, that is the time criteria. So I need you to understand that whenever you choose a topic, you need to assess how much time the topic is going to take from you. Like for me, I somehow managed with the help of my friends as well as my juniors to collect the data within a period of 3 months. But actually, if you read the ICMR guidelines, they have clearly stated that the data collection should be within a period of 2 months. So be sure that you would be able to collect your data within max 3 months and minimum 2 months. And that's how you can then proceed ahead with report writing. So I guess that was about the PICOT criteria. Also, you need to collect as much information as possible and then proceed ahead with, and then proceed ahead with your research topic. That's it. That's all I was about to say, because all the important points, all the necessary points have been covered up by all my seniors, and they have spoken wonderfully. And it's your time to speak now, because we are just waiting for you.
Thank you, Kasturi, so much. I'm just looking up for doubts. I guess there aren't any doubts. Okay, if there are other doubts, we'll just solve them henceforth. Thank you, Kasturi.
Yeah,
Right.
welcome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Right. So finally, we have covered almost all the speakers. Probably we'll have a talk with Rohit at the end. He'll tell you the most important points which are needed. So before that, I'll just wrap up with my journey. Now, in my case, I never followed the finer criteria or the PICO criteria because I was not aware of those criteria, frankly speaking. So third minor was a time when I started with my research, and I went the other way around. Like I had different criterias. So my aim was to perform research, but even get it selected in ICMR. So now selection of the ICMR is, they don't have any kind of a criteria to find that which projects are selected or not. So what did I do? I approached a lot of seniors, not just from my college, but even seniors from everywhere I know, from all other colleges, who have their ICMR projects selected. So I made a list of their topics, and from their topics, I found out that which are the subjects which have the highest selection rates, right? So from that analysis, I found that in preclinical and paraclinical subjects, FMT has the highest, right? FMT followed by micro and followed by anatomy. These are the subjects that have the highest selection rates. And in clinical subjects, the order goes this wise. It's like peds, followed by obs gynae, and then followed by medicine and surgery. So now I was in third minor, so I didn't want to pursue any project which is from first year or second year. So finally, I decided to, take up a topic which is from my final year, so that will help me out in my curriculum too. So as I said, I wanted my project to get selected. So firstly, I approached PEDS. Now, PEDS had the problem that all the teachers were already taken up. Chaya ma'am, Kinikar ma'am, and all of the other important teachers were already booked. So PEDS was out of the option. Now I had to switch over to obs gynae. Obs gynae, I personally didn't like it that much. So I went to the teachers. I asked them that which topics were available. I had a list of topics in my hand, but still I wanted to, go to other teachers and look upon. So then after that, I switched to medicine or surgery. Now the problem with medicine and surgery in specifically our college, that is in BJ Medical, is that the teachers are so busy that they just can't give you time for any project, right? Any of your research projects. Like if you ask any of your seniors, it's difficult that you find any senior who has pursued a project in medicine or surgery. So I wanted to do a project in surgery, but then the teachers weren't free. I still approached a couple of teachers. I went to Pathan sir. I went to Dubey ma'am. Now, these teachers, they had a couple of topics in their hand. And they told me clearly that they'll guide me, but I'll have to do the work, everything on myself. And secondly, as I said, that surgery and medicine had comparatively less selection rates in ICMR. So I had to finally choose upon such kind of a subject and a topic which had, a good selection rate and which finally and most importantly interests me, right? So then I had an option that either I take Obs Gynae or I start a project directly in surgery. But then I had a thought that why not take some project from microbiology or FMT, okay? Now, FMT, frankly speaking, taking a project is interesting, but for me, I didn't find FMT that fascinating. So I thought that, okay, let's just go with micro or surgery. Now, the problem with microbiology is that we have a couple of teachers, but the topics are very, kind of boring. But if you're disciplined to it, it's 100% sure that the topics are going to get selected, right? So I had to find something in between. So I had three options now: microbiology, surgery, and Obs Gynae. If I take Obs Gynae, I knew that I'm not that interested in that subject. So just taking up the project just for sake of getting it selected or doing a research didn't fascinate me. So I had two options: surgery or microbio. Now, surgery as I told you, I approached Pathan sir and Dubey ma'am, and in microbiology, I approached Kagal ma'am. The other teachers were already taken up, or they were not that good, as a guide. I wanted a guide who is quite experienced, because experienced guides, I'll tell you at the end, how do they matter a lot. So I had these two subjects in mind. Now, micro had the highest selection rates and surgery had a bit less. So what did I do? I took the topics from surgery. I didn't search the topics which I wanted. I went to the teachers. I went to Dubey ma'am, I went to Pathan sir, I went to Sahil sir. I asked them that which topics do they have or they think research should be performed. So I made a list of those topics. Now, from these topics, I decided that which is the topic that suits me. So I had a couple of about 11 or 13 topics. From that, there were 4 topics that suited me. And most of the topics were revolving around antimicrobial resistance. And I, at the same time, looked upon the WHO thing, So basically, there's this WHO theme which is present every year. And the theme, if you select and if you compare that with the ICM. So, right, let me start again. WHO has a theme every year that it's the World Health Day theme which happens. And the second is ICMR, which has its own kind of a theme. If you go on the website, there's a theme which they share. And mostly it is in coordination with WHO. So basically, I went to the list of the topics. I finalized the 4 topics which I like. From these 4 topics, I searched on the internet that which topics are available for the WHO theme, which topics are related to the WHO theme and to the ICMR theme. And it came out to be that in 2013 and 2015 or 16, antimicrobial resistance was a WHO theme that year. And there were millions of articles criticizing the fact of antimicrobial resistance. But there were no articles that actually found the obstacles because of which there is antimicrobial resistance, right? So antimicrobial resistance as such was a topic of microbiology, but finding the obstacles was a topic of surgery. So I knew that microbiology had the highest selection rates. So I took the topic from surgery and I named it in such a way that the topic is, a microbiology topic. So my topic is finding the obstacles faced by the surgeon in the timely administration of prophylactic antibiotics. So I wanted to do surgery, which is my interest. So the topic is from surgery, the sample collection is from surgery, everything is from surgery. And microbiology had the good selection rates and I had an amazing guide. She was experienced, so she was really good. So it just turned out to be really great. And right, so I would tell you this, that this was my journey because I wasn't aware of the finer and the PICO criteria. So I went the other way around. I feel that you should people actually, if you have the opportunity, you have such great seniors telling you, follow the actual path which is there, but work smartly. Basically, just don't take up a project because you want to take it up, right? And finally, Right. So there's nothing much to add upon over here. I'll just add upon Rohit, so that we have the other discussions and the final wrapping up of the session. Rohit, I'm just waiting for your request. A couple of doubts, I guess. Yeah, so a couple of people are asking that how do you select a topic? Yeah, so that's what it is, that either you go through the finer criteria or the PICO criteria and finally find your interest in it and thereby select your topic. Rohit, are you there? I'm waiting for your request. Or Manali, even you could join. That would be fine. Right, so you can go about that way. And um, just a second. Right. So we have Manali joining up. So she was actually the mediator for today, but because of some technical glitch, it couldn't happen. Hi, Manali.
Yeah, hi. I'm so sorry for the beginning thing. Am I
No,
visible
it's
now?
absolutely fine. Let's just, yeah.
Yeah,
You can
okay.
wrap it up. Right.
Okay, so guys, I hope that this session was helpful. So, firstly, we would like to thank all the speakers for sparing their time and giving us such valuable guidance. And most importantly, we would like to thank respected Dr. Aarti Kinekar ma'am for always guiding us through. Then I would like to thank all our teams, our research council teams, publicity team headed by Pranava Nande, then technical team headed by Shubhangi ma'am, feedback team headed by Rishikesh Aladkar, and yeah, we will be also releasing all the feedback forms. Make sure that you fill it and give your responses so that we can improve later too. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Also, we are open for collaborations. We will be doing many such events. Please DM us if you want to collaborate with us. Like the Rotaract Club will be collaborating with us, Aspire, then National Forum team. Many of them have sent us requests. So please do tell us if you want to collaborate with us.
Right. And finally, before we end for today, we would like to thank Dr. Kinekar ma'am for making all this happen finally. And right, we are in collaboration with a couple of NGOs, with the Rotary Club, with the National Research Forum, and obviously our very own Dr. Prateek sir, and a couple of others. So we are up for collaborations, as Manali said. And most importantly, any doubts, please help. Please be free to reach us. I'm sorry, and you can WhatsApp us or even call us. It's great, right? So okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, also please share this video. We will be saving this on the IGTV, and we are also trying and planning to put this up on the YouTube. So we also have a YouTube channel. So don't worry if you missed it or had any technical problem. We will be sharing it there. And yeah, please share this video, and also follow us on Insta and our Facebook account, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I hope that we'll do many more such events together,
Right.
and help you all.
Right. So I'll be ending the video over here. Doubts, we'll be taking it over WhatsApp. And thank you. Thank you, Manali. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Stay safe.